Hey everyone, Nubkeks here, and welcome. Let's go over here to, this is going to be, I think, a really helpful tips video for you guys who want to be really serious about Hero League. I'm going to be going through, in this video, my stats for Ranked Season 3, and then drawing some conclusions from those stats. I'm kind of showing you guys and guiding you guys through the process of how to use the information that you have, and where to find it all, to figure out things like, for example, which maps you're good at, and then which maps are actually your problem maps that you need to adjust to, figuring out what heroes and roles you're actually performing well on. Very importantly then as well, something that you probably haven't picked up on really, but what heroes you're doing well with on your team, and what heroes you're doing poorly against on the enemy team, or then alternatively, what heroes that are considered very strong that you're actually countering quite well, and then maybe you can also work out, perhaps it's some of the heroes that you like to play are actually doing really well against certain heroes that are considered very powerful, so you don't actually need to worry about them too much. Anyway, we're on Hotslogs here, and I highly recommend that you use Hotslogs. You can sign up for free. Oh, this open. Okay, well, you can get your account. Yeah, so you can create an account here. I think you sign in there. And then I think upload replays. There's like an automatic Hotslogs uploader that you can use. It will upload all of your games. It's a very quick process. And then, I don't know, like every week or so, you can just open up the uploader, top up all your games, and then it will give you a whole bunch of information that you can work with. What we're going to dive into, we don't need all of that for what I want to do today. We want to focus specifically on Hero League. So we're going to search for Hero League. Whoops, there we go, it's loading up. And then we're going to filter that for Ranked Season 3. And then you can see all of your stats for Ranked Season 3 in total. So, for example, I've played 12 hours and 8 minutes of Ranked in Season 3. That's 38 games. We have a 58% win percentage. This is actually, I'm putting this video up just after we promoted to Master in Hero League, so that's good. Obviously, we're aiming for much higher than that. But, yeah, let's dive right into it. Let's start figuring out kind of interesting things as we go. Actually, before we go in, you guys might be curious about these other tabs, but I've got to be watching these once this video is done, and then I actually have that promotion game. I've recorded the commentary and everything. Here it is. I need to get that up and get those videos edited, and once they're uploading and everything, I'm going to chill out and watch some Quill18 and some Boogie2988, two of my favorite channels. Really good channels. Really good. Very nerdy, but then again, if you're watching a video on statistics, you're probably into nerdy stuff. Let's be honest, you probably are. Anyway, let's look at the roles. So interestingly, this was something that struck me immediately and also reflected what, broadly speaking, like my feelings about this season as well in terms of Ranked. As you can see, 15 games on Warrior, we've won 2/3 of those. 17 games on Assassin, won just under 2/3 of those. Only one game on Specialist. If you guys have been paying attention to my tier list, and there should be another one up tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But I've been saying for this season in particular that Specialists seem, on the whole, very weak this season. As you can see, I've personally found almost no reason to pick Specialists. Very rarely will I actually play a Specialist. They're just not that dominant right now. It's much more focused on Warriors and Assassins, I think, in particular. But this one here, this is obviously a bit of a problem area, is that we've played 5 games on support this season and only won one of those. I've played 5, won 1, and lost 4. And that definitely ties in. Now, I know myself from playing some of these games. In fact, if we go down here and look at the heroes, we played 1 game on Tehran, and that was the one we won. Then played 2 games on Oriel and 2 games on Rhaegar and lost both of those. I definitely, I know, and probably you guys who are watching the stream also, I think we played 1 Oriel game and 1 Rhaegar game in one of the streams we did, and in both cases we picked those heroes to synergize with our teammates, and then our teammates, they were just kind of crappy. It's just the problem of being in Diamond, that, obviously we are supposed to be higher than Diamond. And this is just something I've learned for myself, at least in this season, is I really do not want to be playing support. Just fundamentally, a master level player playing with diamond level player, you probably want the diamond guy on support, because support is ultimately enhancing. So if you got the master player enhancing the diamond player, it can only go so far. Whereas the diamond player enhancing a master player, that maybe can reach a bit higher. I don't know if that's actually true or not. That's just the feeling I have. Or at the very least, maybe that's just me justifying. I don't like playing supports very much. At least not this season. Now, I'm not saying I'm against supports at all. For example, I was looking at Ranked Season 2, And if we look at Rank Season 2, where we played 77 games, again, we didn't play, that's the problem, we didn't play enough games. But you can see over here, actually didn't do too well in Assassins in that season. Like, we did well on Vala and stuff, and Li Ming and everything. But which Assassins were we doing badly on? Lunara, that's pretty good. I don't know, I think we're just playing random Assassins, so Thrall we didn't do well on. Falstad. Alright, we're kind of dipping into, like, Alarak, Crow, Micho, Jaina. So one game on a few different... Oh, we won the Samuro game. But, yeah, I don't know. That's weird. Interesting. It's not too bad, but it is definitely lower. Like, we had a 57% win rate total in Season 2, so 48% win rate in Assassins. We were not doing too well in Assassins in Season 2, but supports were doing just fine on. Supports were not a problem. I'm curious about Season 1. It was a very different meta. But there, once again, you can see support was actually my best. But God, we were really crap at specialists back then. Good in Assassins, and then okay on Warriors. But overall, again, this is something you could do too, right, is that as you go through the seasons, like, for example, looking at Season 1, you'd say, oh, you suck at Warrior, but then if you look at, like, Season 2 and Season 3, you can see our Warrior stats are much, much higher. So obviously that, you know, the more seasons you have to draw on, and the more that you use this tool, Hotslogs, the better a feel you'll get for your games, and then you'll be able to adjust just from understanding yourself, how those games have gone, and what your actual playstyle is. You'll be able to use your understanding of yourself over the course of multiple seasons, and even quick match and everything and like that, and unranked draft. You'll be able to supplement, you know, what is ultimately here a very small sample size. So, you know, again, I look at this and I say, okay, I know I've done badly on supports this season. I feel for myself that the meta doesn't really suit me. I would much rather be playing Warrior Assassin in this particular meta, and this is somewhat reflective of that. But then I also know that support is not a problem area for me overly much. Just maybe just the support picks a bit for the current meta I'm in, and go for some different things. But again, I also know that this is partially reflective of the fact that I just had, because I remember my 2 Rhaegar games, I remember one of the Oriole games, and I remember that we had just a very poorly performing team, and like, especially with the Oriole, it's just like, I think actually I do remember both Oriole games, they're both bad, but it's just like, if you pick her with, like, I remember one game I picked her with a Gul'dan, the Gul'dan player was shite, didn't do any fucking damage, we didn't get any hope, so we could do barely any healing, it was a disaster. So that's not really super relevant. Anyway, let's move on to something else. That's enough about heroes and roles. Actually, let's look at heroes real quick, but you can, like, take a glance through and see which heroes you're doing well on very quickly. So you can see Diablo's really good for me. Lunara's been really good for me so far as well. Tychus has been just fine. Artanis has been good as well. Remember, we're looking for like 58% roughly win rate for being good or not. So Tychus is actually a little bit underperforming. Muradin, only 3 games. So again, you know, maybe not super keen on playing the Muradin. I would much rather play, you know, the Diablo or Artanis, honestly, which have better win percentages, and also I'd feel are better at the moment. So Muradin also reflects where we are forced to play Warrior, probably late in the draft, where these other heroes are banned or taken away, which is unfortunate. Then Thrall and Ragnaros having good games on them. Not doing super well on these heroes. And then these heroes only have 1 game, so don't really care about those. It's not enough information. We look at the map statistics overall. We can see we're doing like just fine on most maps, and you know, 50% win ratio, that's fine on those 2, only a couple of games. Now over here you can see Garden of Terror and Infernal Shrines. We played 4 games on those and a 25% win rate on both of them, so that makes me kind of stop and say, okay, better start paying a bit of attention to Infernal Shrines and Garden of Terror, because these could be somewhat problem maps for me. We got a bad win rate on Sky Temple, but I also know that Sky Temple from previous seasons is not a problem, whereas I'm almost certain Garden of Terror and Infernal Shrines have always been bad maps for me. Yeah, look at this. So Garden of Terror and Infernal Shrines, once again, like basically the worst. We had 2 games on Black Hearts and lost both of them. That's, again, small sample size in this case here. But, like, once again, you can see Infernal Shrines, Garden of Terror are the worst. I mean, if we go back to Rank Season 1 as well, you can take a quick look here. Again, you see Black Hearts Bay. I know I'm not bad at that, so that's just fine. But over here, so Infernal Shrines, pretty low down. We did better in Garden of Terror in that season. Interesting. Fewer maps, of course, as well. So it's a bit different. But yeah, going to Ranks Season 3. I can see, you know, like, I know for myself that Cursed Hollow and Battlefield of Eternity, probably my best maps overall. I can be very good at Blackheart's Bay as well, though I do get bored of playing some of those heroes on that map. It's like, I hate that map. I really don't like it. But yeah, I definitely know for myself that, you know, actually maybe these 3, maybe focus on them. Especially these 2. So have to look into, all right, what heroes are actually doing well on Infernal Shrines what heroes are doing well in Garden of Terror, and start practicing those a bit and incorporating those into my picks. That's something I can improve upon myself. So you can use this map tool. Again, very few games overall, but the more you play, the better of an idea you'll get. And again, look back at your previous seasons as well and get a bit of an insight there too. Over here, if we check out the matchups, this is how well you're doing against specific heroes. So for example, we can see I played 5 games against Tychus and won every single one, winning nearly every game against Vala, Lunara, Greymane, Dahaka, Alarak as well. Then doing very good against Brightwing, Karazim. Great against Liming, Thrall, Falstad, Tyrael. So we're winning a lot of stuff here. Over here is where things get a little bit more dodgy. So I'd say looking at the 50% mark, we've got like these heroes. So we've got Kael'thas, Kerrigan, Morales, Zul, Oriel, Samuro, and Zul'jin. Now, I know for myself, just from understanding the game, that these are all pretty niche heroes. So, for example, a Nubkeks. Is a Nubkeks a problem? Not very many games. Let's actually take, let's take Oriel, for example. Is Oriel a problem? Potentially. But there are ways to counterpick her. So I can incorporate those. And she also tends to fit into only specific team compositions. She's not a hero you run with every single comp, so it's not a massive problem. Same thing with Morales and Zul and Samuro. These guys are all relatively niche heroes. Kael'thas, again, I can pay a bit of attention to him on specific maps and in specific drafts, but he's not going to be a hero you see in every game. So I'd say I'm not actually overly worried about these guys, because they're fairly niche heroes in general. Now, moving down here, there's actually 2 heroes that I am, in fact 3, make it 4 heroes that I am fairly concerned about, and then we'll come to this guy in a little bit. But these ones, so Sylvanas and ETC are both very powerful and popular, and certainly Sylvanas, maybe a small problem. Pay attention to that moving forwards. I'm not too concerned, but I will take a note of that when I look at my stats in like a few weeks. I'll take a look, see how I'm doing against Sylvanas, and then if it's still a problem, at that stage I'll take action. For now, not too worried. ETC though, clearly a pretty big problem. ETC, we are losing a lot of games against him. He's a very popular warrior, very powerful. So I know moving forwards, I'm actually going to focus more so on this, ban out ETC more, or look into picking ETC myself. I'm very good at ETC, so that could be a good way to actually boost my win rate. Hey, if I win a lot of games with ETC, but I lose the games against him, easy fix is just to play him more often, just pick him up earlier in the draft, so don't have to use a ban on him. Guarantees on my team, and guarantees not on the enemy team. So that could be one way to look at improving my win rate. Alternatively, could also look at ETC himself and find out what heroes he's bad against and try to practice those some more. Artanis we're doing not great against either, but of course Artanis is, I think, probably one of the very, very best heroes in the game at the moment, so that's okay. Gul'dan might be a problem. We'll see how it goes. I'm not too concerned about this yet, but again, like Sylvanas, keep an eye on that. Raynor we're doing poorly against, but that was... Remember, at the start of this season, Raynor was super OP. Since he's been nerfed, and since like Bloodlust and Earthquake have been nerfed as well, Raynor has fallen off an awful lot. So I'm actually not worried about Raynor, because I know that these losses are coming from when he was OP at the start of the season. He's been nerfed, not a problem any longer. Now this one is the biggest cause for concern right here. Actually, let's just point out Zeratul and Chromie first. Once again, these are fairly niche heroes, very difficult to play. So even though we've lost a couple of games against them, not worried. Leoric likewise, he's not difficult to play particularly, but he's a niche hero. So again, not too worried about them just yet, especially with only 2 games. But Ragnaros, 5 games against Ragnaros, and we've only won 1 of those games. Ragnaros is clearly a big, big problem. So definitely, Ragnaros is going to be a hero that I focus on not letting the enemy team get their hands on as much as possible. I think definitely coming to realize just how strong Ragnaros was. I think probably early in the season, I wasn't giving him quite as much focus, because it probably took me a while to adjust from the Bloodlust and the Earthquake nerfs and stuff like that. It probably took a little while for me to cop on to just how strong Ragnaros was. I knew he was really strong. I didn't know quite how strong, though. So that's something I can improve on for sure. I think Ragnaros is incredibly strong right now, and we're clearly having a problem against him. So that was something I definitely noticed. I hadn't realized how many games I was losing against Ragnaros. But now I've seen this, I'm definitely even more focused than I have been, having just reflected on the game, even more focused now on removing him. If we hop over to duos, this is heroes we've won with. We've won every game with Diablo, which is hilarious. I think we've won most games against him too. Where is he? Yeah, we're actually winning lots of games. So we're perfectly happy with Diablo right now. Winning lots against him, winning lots with him. Then when I've played him, I've also won every game with him as well. I've won every game in ranked that Diablo's been on my team, which is kind of hilarious. But yeah, Diablo is like my best friend, basically. Happy to see him everywhere except banned. Win every game with Nazebo Raynor. All right, cool. Here we got heroes with some more games. So we're winning a lot with Brightwing, Muradin. This one's pretty cool. Ragnaros. Played 5 games with Ragnaros. We've only lost 1. So we've played 5 against him. Only won 1. We've played 5 with him. Only lost 1. Ragnaros is definitely a hero I want to see on my team and not on the enemy team. That's a big takeaway I can get from looking at these stats. That's a big takeaway. Want to be either get him on my own team or just ban this dude away. Don't want him on the enemy team. Very happy to see him on mine. Vala then great against her as well. Doing great. With doing really good with Vala with Malfurion too. Scrolling down a bit more. Yada yada. So again, like Tychus, Rhaegar, Gul'dan. One of the things I've noticed is that Rhaegar doesn't seem to be actually doing that well in terms of the stats of the games I've played with. So certainly, at least for the next few games where we're still playing with, as our like Masters rank climbs even more and stuff like that. Not going to worry too much about Rhaegar actually in Bloodlust, especially because I feel like there's a lot of people picking Bloodlust when they should be picking Ancestral. Not really too worried actually about Rhaegar anymore. Not going to prioritize him at all. I'm kind of realizing I'd much rather direct that second ban probably towards like ETC than Rhaegar, actually, from now on, probably in general. Not doing too well with Gul'dans on our team. I've just found people are actually just not very good at playing Gul'dan, would be my overall impression of him. Li Ming, again, yeah. Interesting here, we're actually doing really bad against ETC. I'm doing really badly with him as well. So, ETC is like our worst enemy. We don't want ETC in the games at all. I want to be playing him myself, but I don't really want my teammates playing him too much. I don't really want the enemy playing him. So that's something to focus on here too. And yeah, then apart from this, I think there's a few other things here, but nothing standing out at me too specifically as being worrying. Again, Kerrigan is another hero that I've noticed that people have just been pretty bad. We've had a lot of bad Kerrigans, just straight up bad Kerrigans. So there's that. Anyway, that's what I'm kind of taking away from that. And I think that's pretty much all the information I really need to cover here. So the big takeaways from me was very happy to play Warriors or Assassins. Maybe reassess supports or try to probably avoid supports, at least for the time being, until I get a better feel maybe for how my support playstyle fits into the meta at the moment, but not overly worried about it because I do remember those specific games and that those specific games weren't fully representative. So again, don't go purely by the stats. You also need to put your interpretation onto it, and depends how good your interpretation is, of course, but nothing I can do about that. The map statistics, looking at the maps, pinpointing for myself, Infernal Shrines and Garden of Terror, definitely maps I want to reassess, pay more attention to, check out how heroes are actually performing on those maps and try to practice a few heroes that will do well on those and focus on those. Mix up my picks on those maps because clearly it's not been working too well and hasn't been for a couple of seasons now. Then in terms of the matchups, I can say, and the heroes I'm good with, Ragnaros, definitely a hero I want on my team and not on the enemy team. Diablo, a hero that I'm delighted to see in the games at all, in pretty much any position. And then ETC is a hero that I'm very happy to play myself, but a hero that I definitely don't want in the enemy team, and that I'm even not too keen on having on my team either. And yeah, then also like a few other little bits of information I picked up in general. But overall, I think that's a few, that's about 5 or 6 specific actionable points that I've picked up just from a very small sample size of games and just from spending a few minutes looking through these statistics. I've picked up a few things that I wouldn't necessarily have known before. Like I didn't know the Ragnaros thing before. I didn't know the ETC thing before. Those things stood out to me and as things that I had not fully picked up on just from playing the games. They kind of had slipped past me a little bit. So now, from looking at the statistics, I know that stuff, and I'll be able to improve on that stuff moving forwards into Master League. So I hope you guys found this helpful and that you will be able to do the same thing for yourselves and maybe figure out a few things that you actually just wouldn't have picked up on just from playing the game. That's only when it's like written down in your eyes and percentage points that you finally go, whoa, I hadn't realized that. That's actually kind of crazy. Okay, I've played 20 games on Muradin and I'm still winning 33% of the game. I really need to reassess either how I'm drafting Muradin or how I'm playing the guys. Clearly something is going wrong here with this my hero or something like that, or then heroes that you're doing poorly against or good with, or then maps that you've got a problem with. Hopefully you picked up something useful. Give the video a thumbs up if you did. Thank you very, very much for watching. I am going to get these videos edited, uploaded, and then chill out with some Quill 18 probably straight off this. So I hope you guys are having a great Tuesday, and I will catch you all tomorrow as well, I hope, for some Valera streaming. That should be a bit of fun. Get her up, start doing some ranked play in Master League. Thank you for watching. Catch you all next time. Bye bye.